Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is Apostle Crystal Lee. I'm excited to be here with you this morning for 111 days of kinetic prayer. This is an exciting time. I see my brother is in the room. I'm going to bring him in this morning. Good morning, Apostle. Good morning, Apostle Ace. How are you
Good,
this morning?
good morning and grand rising to you, Apostle. How are you? I'm
That's,
I'm I'm like doing like work in the kingdom.
that's what I wish you when you're right, as you say. I'm absolutely amazing as usual.
Yes, and that you
Absolutely.
are. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Outstanding and standing out for the king. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I see Prophet Marlise is in the green room. Let's bring her on the stage as well. Good morning, Prophet. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Good morning. Blessings.
Blessings to you. How art thou?
Thou is wonderful. Thou is good.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're excited to be here with you this morning. I'm excited about the conversation this morning. We are still in the mysteries of the unseen realm, which I foresee we're going to be in that space dealing with the different faculties of man, the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the nose, the mind, the heart, all of these different spaces. However, we're in part 4 of the manifested mind this morning. So this is where we are. This is what he wants to discuss. And there's a need to get us back in the proper alignment in the mind. I see Elder Vicky in the room. Good morning, Elder Vicky. Mighty is our God, for real. Strong is Yah this morning. He is strong and mighty. Amen. I see Pastor Shauna in the room. Good morning, and several others behind the scenes. Blessings to you as you are here this morning with us to hear this amazing and dynamic conversation that the Father wants to have with us, through us, and to us. Okay, so I'm excited about that. So if you have not already, we got a few less likes than normal. Go in the room and like the video while we are on the live, okay? Because that makes a different impact in the algorithms when we're on the live, and potentially before, because it shows that there's a desire for a thing. So we want to make sure that we are dealing with this thing according to how the algorithms work. All right, so let's do that. I'll give you guys just a few moments, and I'm going to entreat my guests, my co-host this morning, to greet you this morning. Apostle Ace, would you greet the people this morning?
Well, thank you, and want to say shalom to each and every one of you that is here in the conversation, hearing. It is a blessing and it's an honor to wake up in the kingdom of Yahweh and just have conversation with Yah on this morning, along with everybody else, and the rising of the day. And so it is just wonderful. I love it. I love to hear what Yah is saying by His Spirit. What's the prophetic coming out of it? Directions, instructions. So we are in a good position,
Yes,
to become whole in
yes,
this cycle of time that we in. And so it's just wonderful to become more eternal, more immortal now
yes,
than ever before. And
yes.
so, and I think that even in all of this, he's getting our physical body ready for the eternal as we transition in so many ways. And so it's just wonderful to experience the eternal, immortal transition that we're going through in this cycle of time that we're in. So it's just wonderful. I enjoy togetherness, the oneness, and it's just wonderful to learn. I often tell people I'm a student teacher.
Absolutely. Me too.
I'm ever learning,
Yes, sir.
and so there were many people who used to ask me, well, who is your spiritual father? Who you learning from? I said, well, I've gone past that. I'm learning from everything now.
Yes. Come on now. Come on.
I learn from the trees, and I learn
Come on now.
from the air. So
Come
I'm
on.
learning from children. I learn. I'm being taught by the elements. And so it's
Come
just
on now.
wonderful to be in the presence of those who are like-minded, weak-minded individuals, not terror-minded individuals, but weak-minded individuals. And so it's just wonderful. And I thank Yah for the opportunity to even be heard and, well, not seen, but be heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a master student teacher myself. Master student teacher. Absolutely. I love it. I love it, brother. Prophetess Marlise, will you greet the people this morning?
Yes, good morning. It is a beautiful, beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is. That's
Yes,
Kingdom Hood, I promise you.
and in the neighborhood. So
Yes.
yeah, so today, you know, um, I'm ready like you all are. You teacher learners. I'm a learner teacher.
A learner
I'm a
teacher.
learner teacher.
Okay, amen. Amen.
and
Amen.
ever expanding, praise God.
Thank y'all. We
And
thank
ever
you
going.
this
That's
morning.
it.
Absolutely. We are thankful this morning. We're in day 96 of prayer. Ooh, we on the countdown for real. You hear me? We on the countdown to a launch we are not even familiar with, okay? And we're on day 91 of the fast. Okay, so I'm excited. We're in Manifested Mind Part 4. And these are some of the things that the Father was talking to me about um, this morning. There is evidence of this fact. The faculties of man, both scientifically and spiritually, are intricately dependent on the state of his mind. This is not just a fact in the natural world, but it's a fact in the spiritual world. And the operability of the body, both spiritually and naturally, because we do have a spiritual body. There are spiritual bodies, and then there are natural bodies. So both spiritually and naturally, the body and the spirit of man hinges on the wholeness of the mind. And we've been talking about wholeness. A lot of people deal with holiness, but you cannot get to holiness, right? And Apostle went into that just the other day. You cannot, they're talking about holiness, but you can't arrive at holiness until you have wholeness.
Amen.
Wholeness of the mind. Divine restoration of this vital component, the mind, must not be overlooked, as it is the key to true well-being and fulfillment. The absence of this wholeness in the mind breeds the lack of harmony within the man, which becomes the catalyst for all forms of dis-ease. And that's not one word, that's two parts. Dis-ease, meaning not at ease. The labyrinth of the mind contains secret compartments that house the information of our limiting or our limitless belief system. To the victor of this battlefield goes the spoil. The power is given to dictate, control, the production that stems from this profound plant called the mind in the way of wealth and also the very essence of human health. The one who triumphs on the battleground of the mind holds sway over the intricate dance of life. So we must become the landlord and not the tenant of our manifesting mind. The word in Philippians 2:5 declares this: let this mind be in you that was also in the Mashiach. And this is my quote for the day: the mind of the matter manifests the outcomes of the matter. Did y'all get that? All right, so we're going to dig in. We're going to dig in. I'm going to allow Prophetess Marlise to jump in on anything that I've said. If anything stood out, you can definitely piggyback off of that. And then Apostle Ace, if you would, and we'll dive in to the conversation today. I'm still waiting on those likes. Maybe I need to close my window and look again.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes,
I see them.
mind, dealing with the mind, and the manifestation of what the mind is thinking
Mm-hmm.
and doing. Most people don't understand that they have already created the reality that they're in
Yes.
by what they were thinking initially. Because what you think promotes what you do. What
Mm-hmm.
you think promotes how you react. What you think causes you to either move or not move. And then also what you think is also what heaven hears.
Mm-hmm.
Because God knows your thoughts. Now the enemy doesn't until you speak it. But
Yes.
that mind of what you think, the heaven hears. Now the thoughts, true enough, the enemy can intrude and invade the thoughts of your mind. And if you accept it, you're in agreement, that's a covenant.
Yes.
And the spiritual realm doesn't know, oh, it was just a thought. Because the thought is what the enemy wants you to have less of your own thought.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're thinking and as you're moving, and you're not putting those thoughts that the enemy has tried to infiltrate and put into your mind, you'll be one that is apt to implement, to think, or to react to what the enemy has put in there if you don't know your own thoughts, if you don't know that that's not your thought. Because they tell you, oh, if you're thinking it, oh, just embrace it. No, I ain't
No.
going to embrace everything my mind thinks. 'Cause some of that stuff need to go to the trash.
Absolutely.
But we don't, a lot of times people say, well, I just thought about it. Okay, but that's not what you do. That's not how you promote that. That's not what we're promoting here. Why would you allow that thought to be prevalent when there's so many other things that you think and have thought of that is much better? But we don't, a lot of times people do not analyze their thoughts. They analyze their emotions more than their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a device that the enemy uses. So what you think is what you are. So shall a man think. That's what he is.
Yes.
And we have to be mindful of what we really actually are thinking. Even in um, fun conversations,
Mm.
casual conversations, because we can get really caught up.
Come on now.
And about as simple as I can put it,
Yeah. Yep. That's
because
good.
it will manifest.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
know, so yeah, like they say, they tell the prophet, say, well, you'll have what you speak, prophet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's with everybody, because you can have what you think too. Mind your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Mind your thoughts.
That's good. And I want to say this too, just to piggyback off of the powerful statements that Prophetess Marlise has made this morning. A lot of times people, when they hear that you'll have what you say, if they're wicked, then their thought process is that they can say things of other people or
Mm-hmm.
correct it to other people, and they're going to have what they say. But I have said this before and need to reinforce it, that what you say out of your mouth is a seed for yourself. It's not a seed for someone else. So what you're declaring, the hole that you're digging with your tongue, is the hole that your body will fall in. You understand? Because you're not sowing that seed on someone else's behalf. All right. And we'll have some conversations about the working of witchcraft and all of that. Maybe that stuff might come up, but that's usually what that's stemming from. However, only people that are not aware of certain things and are open to certain conversations, because people understand how to work certain spiritual realms and they're ignorant of them, right? May find themselves caught up in some situations like that. However, when you're dealing with the Son of Yah, It's a dangerous thing to say a thing as if you're sowing a seed on their behalf from a witchcraft perspective, because we hit back. You understand? We hit back, you know. So, Apostle Ace.
Yes, and yes, and more yes.
Yes, we hit back, sir.
Well, there are a few things that stand out as you all were conversating, and I'm dealing with the unseen things that where things derive from with the mind, and so something stood out when you said they you got to be the landlord of your mind.
Yes.
And it's interesting. The first thing that came, because we're dealing with the mind, and and so a lot of times you go to rent a place,
Mhm.
and the owner might say, you know what, I'm putting you out because you're not clean, you're not paying your bill, you're not doing this. But then a lot of people don't realize there are laws for the landlord.
That's
And
it.
a lot of times it's that they call them slum lords.
Come on now. Come on. Come on.
And so when you not taking kind of responsible for your mind and things that has taken place, talk about the mind of man.
Mm,
Now the mind of man to others might seem he got a good mind. But how does Yahweh sees the mind? When you said that let this mind be in us, which also was in the Messiah. Now, if anything is outside of that, are we
mm.
slumlords?
Come
That,
on
that's just
now.
that's just a thought, and so it goes back to the origin of when we became to be slumlords and taking a responsibility for our own mind and not having a mind. So I go back even to Genesis, and even in the third chapter, it says, "Now man has become to know the difference between right and wrong."
Uh-huh.
Now, so therefore, now he don't have the mind of Yahweh anymore. And
Yes.
because of that, he's going to make decisions on his own. And
Mm,
so there's things that in his mind that seems right, he gonna do it. And it could be wrong. He's making the decision now. And so I even thought about what took place when the disobedience took place,
yes.
and how the mind began to suffer. The mind, see, there was a mind thing that took place that caused the body also to suffer. I mean, we talk about mental illness.
Yes.
People
Yes.
don't want to. People, we that's a modern term, mental illness, because we look at the double-minded.
Yep.
We hear that a double-minded person is unstable in all their ways. It
Yep.
doesn't matter how we dress up the body, how cute we look, or how fine we are. But when you begin to hear the mind of a person.
Yes.
And
Yes,
so,
sir.
even how Yahweh looks at our mind, do we have a righteous mind, or are we double minded? And so when I look at, because when the mind is not lined up right, then there is mental suffering. Because when he told Eve, so now you're going to suffer even greater.
Mm-hmm.
That deals with the mind. The
Yes.
body gonna feel pain. He told Adam, he said, you're gonna labor.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have labor pain. She gonna
Yes.
have
Sir,
labor
you're right.
pain. So
Yes.
now it's gonna be frustrating. How can I figure out this not to have pain anymore?
Come on now.
And so therefore we see this to even today, because now man is still trying to figure out how not to have pain because the mind is suffering.
Come on now.
And
That's it.
so it's just interesting because and I thought about, then we become slumlords.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We don't take kind of responsibility of our mind. Things become a stronghold in our mind.
Yes.
And so it's hard. And so when we get in that position, it's hard to let go because we're constantly trying to figure out how to relieve mind suffering, which they call mental illness today.
Come on now. That's
And
it.
the only way, and so when we get out of mental illness, a way to get out of mental illness is this is what we got to do. We got to begin to walk in obedience. We got to know. We got to
Yeah.
make a decision. So there are people now today, things that wasn't classified as mental illness, it is
Yeah.
today.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's
That's
a dis-ease.
it is. Dis-ease. Absolutely. Yes, sir. That's powerful. And this is the area that I've been in for a minute here, teaching on spiritual schizophrenia a year or two ago. This stuff is serious. The adversary is after the land. He's after the territory of the mind of man because he has an identification on the mechanism of that system and what it can produce. He understands that. It's not, he can't read your mind, but he understands the power of the mind. So why would he not want to encroach upon that territory to gain access or acquisition of territory for himself? Because if he gains that territory for himself, then the person made in the image and likeness of Yah originally is not living from their authentic self. They're not living in their authentic or inherent dominion, and they've turned it over. It's the same thing that happened in the garden, turning it over to someone else or another entity and losing the ground and losing the dominion and losing the authority and having to work hard or labor for, because that was the outcome of eating the thing that changed everything, eating the thing that was forbidden. And I always say this, it's not necessarily just looking at the character of Yah. I don't believe that perpetually he felt like, I'm never going to allow you to have clearer understanding about this tree. But there are times when children are children, there are certain levels of information that you give children based on the age of the child. At some ages, you just expect them to obey because that's what you're training them to do. Follow my instruction because I'm causing you to become something, right? Follow me and I will make you, is what the master said to the disciples. He didn't tell them a whole lot about the mysteries. He didn't give them all the intel about the secret things that belong to Yah. It came over time with relationship and experience, right? So this adversary is vying for the territory of the mind because he understands that if he gets you in that space, which controls every other vital space in your physical body, that mind controls every signal that goes to your arms, your legs, every part of your body is directed by headquarters. It's directed by headquarters. And I love the fact that you brought out the fact that mental illness is not just what they are deeming like the severe cases of things. We have all been in a space at some point in time of our mental being ill because it wasn't whole. But see, we've given all of these little colorful things, colorful titles to things. And so now we feel in the clear if we don't have the colorful titles that man has attributed or labeled things as, right? But we're not in the clear because if our mind is not whole, we are ill in the mind. We're ill there. And this is why the Father, the restorer of the souls of men, which we have talked about, is the actual desire of darkness and diabolic nature. Anybody that's under the impression or oppression of that is an assignment against the sons of Yah, they are after the operation of the soul, the mind, the will, and emotions, your thinker, your feeler, and your doer. And your thinker, your feeler, and your doer, your mind, your will, and your emotions is the epicenter by which you're going to make the determination at the end of every idea or concept on how you're going to move. You're going to make that determination at the end of whatever this idea or this concept is, whether you're buying into it or buying or not buying into it, opting out of it. You understand what I'm saying? And this ultimately is going to be the thing that causes the greatest problem for mankind at the end of the age, because as things are summing up, as there becomes a sum up of the things in the earth, man is going to be challenged with these ideas of darkness. Man is going to be further challenged to give his allegiance. And this is what the adversary has always been about. If you look at many sons over the gamut of time, you'll see that there kept being a challenge to give allegiance. It happened in the garden. It happened with, I'm just going to throw some off. It don't mean they're in any order or that there are not more. It happened with Daniel and the Hebrew boys. It happened with the Mashiach in the wilderness. You know, these things are often a challenge of darkness, because we see it in Hollywood. We see it in all of these different places, right? Where people are selling their souls. That's a real thing. That's what the adversary is after. Selling their souls for access to something. We even talked about Esau. The blessing was the operations of who Esau was going to become, what he was going to be able to utilize, vital utilization of a tool that was going to position him. And he didn't care about that. He sold his soul for a pot of lentils. You understand what I'm saying? So not that it would be any different in the end of this age, at this point that we're in. When I say the end of the age, we're in it. Okay. And as it progresses, the technology of deception is going to become greater. This is why the word states that if it were at all possible, even the very elect. In other words, this deception is so great. The deception is so magnanimous that it would have the potential, if possible, to deceive even the very elect. That means it's not coming like, hey, I'm a deception. Hey, I'm the opposite. It's coming like, hey, I'm what you've been looking for. I'm that thing. You've been looking for a closer relationship with Yah. I'm that thing, right? And this is why the master said, if they tell you he's over here or he's over there, don't believe them. He said, you're going to know a thing by the fruit that it bears. You're going to know a thing by the spirit that it is producing its fruit from. And if you don't judge things by the spirit of the thing, you're going to be deceived, because the mind is what your adversary is after. I literally, Apostle, had this conversation with my daughters yesterday. We were talking about the pain of things, right? And a lot of people do not understand the fact that, yes, we all go through things. We all go through things. But here's the thing. How we go through is what matters. Because there are things that happen to us as children that we didn't have any control over. You understand? But when we understand and recognize that there's an enemy that is very intentional about what he's after, then we can identify who we really are. Because why are you coming for me and I'm only a child? Why are you coming for me? What is it about me that you're so vehemently going after? What is it about me that you're so riled up about? You know, a lot of times people think about, I'm thinking something is coming past my mind and I'm trying to capture it. A lot of times people are really overly excited about things like the star, right? That was seen by the wise men when the Mashiach came on the scene, not understanding that there are stars that are seen all the time in the realm of the spirit, and natural men are seeing stars all the time. That thing has never changed. They know when deliverers are born into the earth because they read the stars. That's a lost art that we have now, but people do still read the stars. And this is why darkness and diabolic nature amps up, because it's trying to weed out something. I've mentioned to you guys the movie Divergence, that whole series, Insurgents, Divergence, all of that. Well, what are they trying to do? They've created these factions, right? And the reason why they created the factions is to weed out those that are not solidly a part of factions, because they cannot hide that they're not this group or that group. Because of who they are, they can't hide it. At some point, it has to come out. And so they give them tests. They test them. They take them into a chamber. They put these nodes on their head, and they make them go through simulations to see what their reaction is going to be, to see what they're going to do. Why? Because they're weeding them out. Because divergents don't do things like all the other normal factions do. This faction does it this way. If it's the faction that deals, I'm gonna pull it up so I can tell you each of the factions. But if it's one faction, this faction operates like this inside of that maze or inside of that test. This faction over here operates like this because of who they are in that maze. But divergents, they operate completely different. And this is no different than what the adversary has always done. He's established whatever tests, whatever challenges that he can do to weed out what was seen. Okay, we saw stars. We saw something. You know what I'm saying? And we don't know where it's located. We don't actually know which one of y'all it is, but we're going to put some things out there to see how you respond to it. That's what's going to let us know who's who. Apostle?
Yes. You know, as you were saying, my mind thoughts go to the movie The Airbender.
Yes, sir.
And so the fire nations say they've been trying to figure out who is this airbender, the avatar. And so, but the avatar, you know, was hidden for over 100 years in a bubble in the water.
Yes, sir.
And so when it emerged out and all that transition, there were some things that was taking place. And when they finally caught up with the little fella, and the man said, "We do this test."
Hello. That's what
He said, "We do this test just to see. It's harmless. It's no big deal. If it doesn't, if it doesn't, if the test doesn't work out, you can go back to normal living." So he said, "With just a few items, we're gonna put in front of you."
Yes, sir.
And they put the rock in front of him, and the rock shook, and it stood up. Then they put some water there, and the water rearranged itself. And so now they looked at him, and I think they put some fire, and the fire, the flame did a certain thing, and the two men looked at each other and said, "Wait a minute, we've done this for hundreds of years, and you're the first one." And they looked, they said, "This is
the airbender."
There you go.
That's him.
And so they said, now we got to capture him because now he is a threat.
Yep.
To everything. And so I look at how the enemy would throw certain things. And so let me go to the apostle.
Yes.
Because the apostle embodies pastor, evangelist, teacher, and prophet. There you go. The apostle embodies all four of those.
Yes.
Now the enemy is always testing to see what's going to be taking place in those areas, whether or not if you are an ascended one or the apostle that comes with signs and wonders. Why? Because you're completely a threat.
Yes.
To what is being done. You got to weed you out.
That's it. That's it.
Here's the test.
That's exactly what the test is about. So it behooves you not to stay in the place of pain. Because the only purpose of the test is to identify who you are, if you're actually that person. But then now I've got to exploit your weaknesses. Prophet Marlene.
Yeah. You know, as the apostle was talking, he was giving an example, sitting before the rock, the water, and the flame. And they say, oh, this is an airbender.
Mhm.
But actually, he's one that is in tune
That's it.
when they're not.
Yeah.
You know, they will be able to possess, subdue, and control the land and every element there is in it because we have dominion of this. And so, but they don't understand
Hmm.
because they're not believing. They're not operating in the manner. So they're finding flesh ways of trying to explain what the mind can do when
Hmm.
there is no fleshly way to explain it.
Hmm.
There's only a Yahweh to explain it, a spiritual way of explaining.
That's right. Yeah.
What is your relationship? What is it based upon? How strong is that relationship? And in that relationship, what have you acquired out of it? Because every relationship has you have to you have to grow out of it. You have to grow in it, or grow with it, or grow out of it.
Hmm.
So it's just interesting that the mind and not knowing causes you to label or to identify one that is operating in what it was supposed to operate from the original design
Hmm.
versus those that are operating in the secondary design.
Absolutely. An altar, an altar,
Hmm.
you know, an altered design.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love that. The reality is the conformity that we're supposed to be operating in is being conformed into the image of the Son, the same image that the Son of Yah, the second Adam was is the image that He desires to conform us into. And so it's funny because when you're conformed into an image, you see things differently. You don't see things the way everybody sees them. And so I was having this conversation yesterday with one of my girls, and it got funny to me because I was saying to her, I was asking her what my age was. I said, what age am I? I often forget this. And it's not that I'm forgetting it because I'm forgetful or there's anything wrong with my memory, but it's more so because over time, I've learned how to depend less on chronos or chronological orders, right? And lend myself more to Kairos. So I forget certain things because what my age is has no bearings on who I am because I'm immortal. You understand what I'm saying? For the sake of conversation or, exploiting some ideas, maybe that's a good thing for people to understand what that is, but I forget it all the time. And I've been doing that since I was in my 40s. I've been forgetting my age. It might have been 30s. And I'm like, at first I was like, well, I keep forgetting what my age is because I don't really live by that. You understand what I'm saying? So she made a statement, and I thought this was phenomenal because it's all about what the mind is manifesting. You can literally change how you relate with time and space. You can literally change how you relate with the things around you, the ideas, the concepts. We know that the word declares to us that we're to bring every thought into captivity, right? We're going to take it a hostage. We're going to make it a hostage before we allow it to have legs. And I think Prophet Marlise brought this up about the thoughts. You can't control the thoughts that are coming through your mind, but you can navigate whether that system is going to be allowed to function. Because the enemy puts things in the minds of men all the time. He's often trying to suggest something. Of course, these suggestions, the enemy of our soul is suggesting things that are to our liking or to our appetite, things that might be beneficial to us as we see things, these different things, pairings that might seem like we're getting something from it when we're not actually getting anything from it. It is like a vampire sucking the blood or the life out of us, right? But it makes us feel good in the moment. So it's a funny thing because once you step out of that ideology of chronology, and you step into the space of Kairos, the timing of Yah, then you forget certain things. You don't abide by certain laws. And so when Apostle was talking about the airbender, it's certain laws that the airbender is abiding by that are not the regular mortal laws, right? And so what is the Father after in this moment? He says, listen, there is a realm that you don't see and you operate in it every day. But how you engage that realm is what is determining your outcomes. How you engage the realm of the unseen is how you are getting the outcomes that you're getting. Your mind is calculating, it's assessing, and you're coming up with these computations, but now you got to identify where the computations are coming from and what are the equations. What are the thoughts behind what I am computing? You understand what I'm saying? Where are these thoughts coming from, and why are these thoughts the things that are coming to me for my computation? What is it that I should be computing? What is it that I should be producing? I'm going to talk to you about production in a minute, because the mind is producing something that diabolic men want to have the rights to. The mind is constantly producing something, and diabolic workers of darkness want to have the rights, the trademark, the intellectual property. They want to own it. Apostle?
My. It's something, because as I listen and you deal with the age thing, that how old am I? How old am I? And I think that the sons and daughters of Yah is coming into that place of transitioning out of time age into eternal time, eternal. And so so here's my thoughts here, because the mind is eternal.
Come on.
The mind is eternal.
It is.
Because out comes from the mind is our imagination. It comes from a dark place. And so here's a scripture in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 22, and he says, and so the days of the day so your days and the days of your children may be numerous, like the days of the heavens above the earth.
Come on now.
The day, so the days above the earth are eternal.
Come on now.
So that means there is no age from where we came from. There is no age. So we are eternal.
Yes.
And we're transitioning. So now we look at the mind, as you were saying, the enemy knows if I can capture their mind, become that stronghold in this eternal battle of the mind, the seat of your intelligence. If I can control that, then now I can do whatever I desire out of you
in this realm.
Yep. And Yah has created time in the realm for us to have. We still have the ability to do certain things in the time cycle that we in, but the time cycle is in eternal.
Yeah.
So when he created time in space, in our time, we still have eternal to live an eternal, immortal life in time.
Yeah.
To be able to see these things. And so there's always that battlefield of the mind. And when we come to the place of understanding, I'm eternal in this mortal body dealing with time. So more we come out of flesh, we begin to come out of time, and we become more eternal. Then we begin to understand how the enemy begin to deal with us eternally, instead of the flesh becomes subject to the eternal.
That's it.
My Lord.
Yeah, Prophet Marlene.
My Lord. My Jesus. Listen, he said a whole mouthful. My goodness. Hold on. I'm still chewing.
Right, right.
I'm still chewing on that. Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
yeah.
You know, and you were saying about the captivity
Mm-hmm,
of the mind
mm-hmm,
and how now they say the matrix, and they got a lot of people, oh my God, the matrix.
mm-hmm.
Things are starting because they have programmed the matrix, what they consider to be the matrix. Let me say that. Because we know that the matrix is actually the womb, but we're going to say the matrix of the mind, right?
Yeah,
So here it is the birthplace for things to come into reality, right?
yes, the
So
mind is a womb.
there's a womb.
Yeah.
So here it is. You have people now doing videos where stuff is just stalling or stopping. People just freezing midstream of motion. And they're videotaping it. Oh my goodness, what is this? What is this? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, now we have, we've allowed these certain systems to pre-program,
Yes.
okay, pre-program
Mm-hmm.
for the mind to be able to manifest their agenda
That's right. Playing right into the hand, Prophet. Let's
into the hand.
you playing right into my hand this morning.
And
Mm.
not bringing down those things into captivity,
Mm-hmm.
not bringing the high place into order, because the mind is the high place of the body.
Yes.
Bringing the mind into order, into alignment, into the obedience of Yah
Yes.
as it pertains to your thoughts and how you perceive your thoughts to be. So now, what is it? There was an old song back in the day that says, "My mind playing tricks on me,"
Yes, sir.
right?
Uh-huh.
A real fact, because what we've allowed some things to creep in.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't tear that thing down when it was trying to stick itself up there,
Erecting itself.
trying to erect. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see these manifestations in through the electronics, which is also a device for their agenda. Yes, it has its uses. Yes, it does, but it is propagating every last idea, concept, and vision that the enemy has put in place. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to be mindful to not help manifest what they have put into place.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be mindful of that because when we're talking about giving birth to something, what are we really giving birth to?
Right.
What are we allowing to come through our matrix? What are we allowing to come through our thoughts? We're gatekeepers of our own mind.
Mm-hmm.
Let a man examine it, so that's including your brain and all your dysfunctions with the disease of the mind. But a lot of us don't like to accept the fact that our mind might be a little off.
Well, how could you tell that your mind is off?
You got a glitch.
As hello,
You
hello,
got your battery low. Yo,
hello.
Go ahead,
something.
prophet.
We're about
Go
to
ahead,
run our
prophet.
lives. Look my video game. Okay.
Sometimes try to put things in nice, places, but your mind, you shook,
You should. Yeah.
and then you deceive yourself. You deplete yourself. The enemy got you depleting yourself.
Yeah.
The enemy got you understand what I'm saying? Because you don't even know how to watch. You know how to be a watchman on the wall for your own brain.
Mm.
They tell you accept all this stuff, embrace it. What the heck? I'm gonna embrace every thought. Some of this stuff is nonsense.
Yeah.
Even in
Embrace it and let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk about it.
Listen, why would I want to talk about some stuff I done shut down? I done told them it can't come back no more. I done said, no, this is not me, so I don't accept it. So now, listen, you illegally trespassing. So why would I invite it back?
Mm-hmm.
You got to take ownership of. Why would I take ownership of somebody else's foolishness?
Mm-hmm.
Because he says now, if you done thought about somebody in the wrong way, you done committed it. I mean, really? And I'm gonna sit here and embrace this. Well, I have the urge, and I was thinking about this thing. Yeah, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you done went off and raped 5 to 6 folks, or you done.
Entertaining.
Yes.
Mm.
Glorified victims. I said that again. Glorified victims. Then we got also glorified thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best cases of that is the labeling of black and white.
Mm-hmm.
You got the color black, so we're gonna have the color white. That kind of mess. It's supposed to be somebody intellectually stable.
Stupidity.
And they weren't.
Insanity.
Straight insanity.
Yeah.
But guarding the mind, and we don't even know how to harvest the right stuff out of the mind. We just let everything just come up and come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, out of the heart, the mouth speak, but doggone, out of the brain, the heart is manifesting what the mouth should.
Yeah. Because the heart and the mind are dynamically knitted together.
Yeah. Just like we got young folks saying I'm old, and them suckers acting like they
in their 70s.
Yes. No, they acting like they in their 200s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The 70 is still youthful, based on the timeline that I understand.
Well, depending on who the 70 is.
That's true.
Yeah.
But your battery's weak, your load. I mean, something you recharge. You need to connect, plug in, tap in. We say all those things.
Yeah.
But we're not renewing our mind every morning, every day, every evening. As a matter of fact, renew your mind every time a new subject come around. Renew your mind. Put a check on that. Hold on, let me see. Was it something said that was not right? Did I say okay to?
It's a way of life. It's a way of life. When it becomes a way of life, you don't have to be paranoid about it because you are constantly mindful, like you're saying, of the Holy Spirit reminds us. He'll give us that inspiration to, check that because something might have got past you. Remember what was stated. And you say, oh, I heard that. Okay, got it. So it's not anything that we have to be paranoid about. It's just that we have to be mindful. Even the world system prophesied this. And we're very familiar with this phrase. The mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Mm-hmm. That's why people waste it. To see if it's terrible.
The world prophesied that. And what did that come out of? What did we hear that on every year? Every year, it was a drive, a collection that was being done. And a black man was at the helm of that collection situation. Lou Rawls. Yeah. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. So this was prophesied. So this restoration process is a profound journey. And the breaking cycles of limitations that hinder us from fully embodying this divine expression that we've been given by Yah is necessary because that is the essence. That cycle being broken and us divinely expressing the nature of Yah is actually the purpose of our earthly experience.
Mm-hmm.
This is the purpose, to rediscover and manifest the authenticity that's embedded in the divine design of who we are. That's a part of the journey, but we spend more time wasting our mind. So you brought up something, Prophet, that led me to a space, and I know we're not going to get done with this today, but we'll talk about it some more tomorrow. Look like we stuck on the mind. This space called entertainment. Entertainment. Man, that every structure is built with an agenda. The spirit of the builder is infused in the structure. So entertainment. Let's think about this for a minute, because a lot of times when people bring up the conversation of entertainment, let's just talk about the elders for a moment from another time. back in the day when church people had a little bit more sense, they were a little bit closer to the reality of the kingdom than now, right? The elders used to say stuff like, that box is the devil. Movies is the devil, right? Okay, so let's just kind of ruminate on this conversation for a minute, because the reality of the situation is that something prophetic was being released to them that they took all the way to a space, but they didn't give the explanation. They didn't lay out what was necessary for us to have an identification on the adversary that we were dealing with. They just said that the box was the devil and the movies was the devil. Here's the thing. The spirit behind the original intent of why these things were created is of diabolic nature. However, the Bible also declares to us that we should not be ignorant of our enemy's devices. Okay? Therefore, if we don't live in time and chronos and have this space where we are just trying to figure out all the things we can do that are fun and entertaining before we die, you know, all the things we can check off our bucket list, all the things that make us feel good, et cetera, then we see the things that are created not the way that they designed them to be seen. Because if you get in that space of entertainment, you're going to get lost. But if you see things as information, then that's a whole nother equation. You understand what I'm saying? They could have gauged the times that they were in by identifying what was on that box that they were calling the devil. But instead of identifying what the devil was doing, what they call devil, because that's really, for me, that's the Satan's, right? Diabolic nature. What they were considering was being done was never sussed out. It was never identified. So they were just like throwing darts in the air, hoping it hits a bullseye. You understand what I'm saying? But what we have to do as sons is understand the difference between entertainment and engagement. Entertainment and enjoyment. Right? Because there's really, the only time I've ever seen the term entertainment, the word entertain in the scripture, is as it pertains to be aware, because you might be entertaining angels unaware, right? That's dealing with engagement. Now, how the world defines entertainment is completely different from that. And so, see, we have these triggers. So when we hear certain words, we're thinking certain things, and they don't line up. They don't align with what the Father's idea of a thing is. They don't align with what his plan is. They don't align with how he structured everything. Because remember, I told you that every structure is built with an agenda. Right? So we go into these spaces, and we talked about this before, Prophet Marlise, where people, we get ready to go do the shenanigans because they're thinking about their fun getting ready to have. Not understanding that they stepped into a whole nother realm of worship to another deity.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they'll have a problem. Religious people have a problem with what I'm saying, because they're like, so what you trying to say, that God don't want us to have no fun?
They worry about the wrong thing.
Listen, he said, I've given you all things to enjoy. Notice the phrase that I'm giving. I have given you all things to enjoy. This kind of links itself to the concept of I will give you the desires of your heart. That doesn't mean that whatever you desire, I'll give it to you. I have given you all things to enjoy. Neither does that mean that it's about what you want. It's about, listen, I have a specific structure that I've built, a specific kingdom and a culture that I have created. And pleasure is at my right hand, because all these things are linked to to entertainment a lot of times. So pleasure, enjoyment, fun, all that stuff is linked to entertainment the way the world has it set up, right? But the Father has declared very specifically these different parts of things, and he said, all of that you can find in me, right? But entertainment is a whole nother situation. Because let me go to what I wrote down about entertainment, and then I want to share with you what he gave me this morning about entertainment.
Apostle.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, we say entertainment, but I've come to know that it's intermainment
Right, right.
because it maims the people. It
Come
maims
on.
them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It maims them because they can't move. It maims them because I got to see the rest of this. It maims them because it dulls their mind. It stagnates their time. It consumes their time.
Absolutely consumes.
It causes them to be immobile
That's it.
when they're supposed to be able to move, even in thought.
It paralyzes.
It paralyzes.
So this is
It
what
makes
I wrote this morning. The dichotomy between entertainment and engagement opens the door for insidious enemies: distraction and detraction. Write those two things down: distraction and
distraction,
detraction. What's the
detraction.
purpose of these two things? To infiltrate the sacred space of the mind. And what does it do? It diverts us from the normative, intentional decision making capabilities that empower us to steer the ship of dominion. Are you listening? The adversary, called entertainment, cunningly nudges humanity away from the throne of responsible, purposeful action, leading minds into the abyss of pleasure devoid of purpose. In ages past, if you understand anything about Colosseum, right? The Colosseum emerged as a spectacle for entertainment. And one of the other spaces that we can identify entertainment is in King's Courts. You didn't hear anything about entertainment except for in those spaces because they needed something to occupy their time. They were not occupied in their time. They were sitting and desiring to be entertained because they were not utilizing their time for divine purposes. Because when you're a divine being, your time is constantly occupied with the mind of what Yah is saying and doing. You understand what I'm saying? So in King's Courts, and this brings me back to the idea that the other day, before we got on, I heard jester. So I'm bringing that back to the forefront because I think I talked to you about that the other day, Prophet Marlise. And he was talking to me about what these organizations and how things are set up. And we talked a little bit about the structure, how y'all blew up the structure of the CHURCH yesterday. Just blew my mind. The current, okay? Said jester. Y'all know what a jester is? Somebody that foolishly flounders around in the presence of the king to entertain or to make him laugh or to make him, you know what I'm saying?
To amuse him.
To bring amusement.
Yeah.
Okay? So he said, the leading of the mind into the abyss of pleasure is devoid of purpose. And so the Colosseum emerged as that spectacle for entertainment. If you remember correctly, that spectacle of entertainment encompassed gladiator fights and people being killed by animals, ripped apart, you know what I'm saying, because of their beliefs, all these different kind of things. And you'll find what they would give in those spaces was food. Why? Because these are the components of darkness that are used to distract and to detract something from you. And a lot of times, this is no different than where we are today, because while most people are being entertained about all these different things that are going on in the world, the tea on all of the talks and, you know, things that are happening with people, the law of the land, the natural law of the land is pushing out things, pushing out new mandates, pushing out new things, new what do I want to call them? New mandates. We'll just stick with mandates right now. New things to entangle mankind.
They're pushing out new laws.
What to do is give you some entertainment to detract you from reality and to distract you from your purpose. Right? So, a stage where the masses were captivated by the allure of food and fun, and this was deemed as amusement. But behind the facade, agendas were clandestinely forged orchestrating the distraction that persists in our modern era. That's the same thing that we're facing today. So today, the manipulation of the masses takes a subtler form in mass media, right? It's more subtle. It's not, we're not going to the Coliseum. This is more subtle. It's on everything. It's in every device. It's on the television. It's in the airwaves. It's on the radio. It's on our phones. It's, you know what I'm saying? We have a lot of different accesses or access points, but it's more subtle, right? But the potent tool is used for indoctrination and desensitization if it's not properly recognized. Diabolic agendas unfold behind the scenes, aiming to wrest away the inherent right to autonomous decision making. The only thing that is autonomous is mankind. We're talking about sentient beings that are digital. What kind of stupidity is this? What kind of stupidity are we talking about? Sentient, how? Because every other part of creation, whether it was something that the Father created that man used to create something else, is moving on two things: instinct or calculation, computation, right? But mankind is the one that is moving on an intelligent foundation. You understand what I'm saying? So we witness the advent of the engineering of consent and advanced technological iteration of the ancient Colosseum right in our day. Right in our day. And so we're going to have to spend some time here because we got to begin to identify whether we are slumlording our life by the wasting of our mind. The wasting of our mind is the wasting of our time. You understand what I'm saying? Are we slumlording, as the apostle said, or are we being very intentional as landlords, understanding our rights and how to arrange the house, how to make sure the house is well and it's fit for executing the things that God desires in the earth? We're going to come back tomorrow and we'll talk some more about it because, once again, we only hit the surface of things, right? But we need to have these conversations. We have to have them because some people are not going to have them because they're more interested in the fun of things. They're more interested in the entertainment. I'm not taking away from the fact that the Father wants us to enjoy life. But you cannot get to enjoyment until you get to the right or the whole mental state. Until your mind is whole, everything about you is just entertainment. You're looking to find things that just satisfy you in the moment. When you get whole in your mind, then you'll begin to enjoy the life that is prepared for you before the foundations of time. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Y'all want to say good day to the people? We only got 2 seconds apiece.
Well, I want to say this in about 2.5 seconds. Yes. I won't be able to be on tomorrow because I'll be on the train at 5 in the morning, headed back home to Arizona. So y'all be praying as I travel back to Arizona.
Amen. We'll do.
Yes, yes. And Prophet Marley said, understanding your mental rights is essential.
There you go. That's my speech. That's what I was going to say.
Absolutely. We love you. We give you holy shalom this morning. And we declare that the body is not a me thing. It's a we
thing.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.